How's everybody doing tonight? That was supposed to be Christmas. It didn't sound very Christmassy, but I want to thank everybody for joining me. Shout out to the GRC Mafia in the house, always supporting the old guy. Check out my man AB Showtime. Go subscribe to him. Check him out. Call him the head of the GRC Mafia, Chris Whitlock. Shout out to the OS of the OG. Keep it techie. Thanks for joining. Hopefully you and your family's doing well. Have you been live streaming? I haven't seen you pop up on my stream for a minute. Shout out to Keep It Techie. Definitely got me started. One of the first guys that gave me an interview and introduced me to the YouTube algorithm. So definitely showing him love. Definitely on those Linux videos. And Linux definitely is my favorite operating system. So I always want to give him a shout out. So he knows if one of his guests doesn't show up, he can text PBO and he'll pop up on there in a second. PBO don't need no lead time. He can just go right at it. But once again, you see it. Talk about AWS System Manager and specifically Incident Manager. So we're going to delve into that. It's actually super short, but we're going to kind of delve that into the cybersecurity perspective. They got some automation in there, and we're going to talk about that from a cybersecurity perspective. And we definitely got to get in. Automation is I ain't going to say it's a new thing, but it's the thing you need to get on. Writing your PHP, your YAML scripts. Shout out to Keep It Techie. So he's actually he's in that Ansible world. So shout out to him. He's always shouting out Ansible. I'm usually doing a little cloud formation. Terraform is in there. So there's a ton of things you can use for automation. Just pick something and roll with it. Right. So once again, if y'all got any questions, just drop them in the chat. Cybersecurity and tech, and we can get to it. Y'all ain't feeling well today. I got to figure out what's going on. I think that weather change getting to me a little bit. PBO getting old too. So that's what we're going to hit today. Incident Manager from AWS System Manager. Inside System Manager, there's a number of functions. One of them is Incident Manager. I actually have a video. I think there's like 6 different things in System Manager. I got an AWS video if you want to delve into it super deep. And once again, 2025 is here. We're going to start getting our labs going on. So when I start talking about them, I'm going to start living it. So you have AWS operations, and you say they're customers along with their shared responsibility. So inside AWS Incident Manager, you can do the console or API. You can do a report incident, provide information if required, engage with CSDM or a P1 incident, validate or remediation. And I guess if you validate or remediate, you can close it, right? So sometimes you can validate something happened, right? But hopefully you would have some kind of remediation in there so it wouldn't happen again. Once again, you can escalate if required. All of that using AWS Incident Management. Once again, from there, you can use CloudWatch to detect. That's their logging, right? That's kind of their SIM. I wouldn't call it a SIM because it's usually short term. I think the most you can keep some in there is for a couple of years, but usually most people keep it in there 3 or 6 months. Then you can send it to an Elk Cache or a Splunk. It's the big $100 million app in there. So appreciate the one. Whoa. Wow, people. We still got a few more weeks now, 2025 yet. I done turned the page. I'm ready. You are correct. There's a couple more weeks, but hey, I'm moving and grooving, man. I think it's time. So I'm mentally getting ready for 2025, but you are correct. There's a little time left. So once again, using that CloudWatch, you can use that for automation, right? If there's a DDoS attack, if you're getting the same IP address 100 times within 15 seconds, right? That's probably a DDoS attack. So from CloudWatch, you can detect that and do something, right? So you can receive an alert or notification, right? We always want to send an email to the security team to let you know something's happening. Once again, service request or incident, provide information if required. If we're getting So if we have a Java application and an incident is it has a memory leak. So the memory leak is you can see the memory on the EC2 keeps filling up, but it never gets released. So if you have the same memory going up for 15 minutes straight in a web app, it's not releasing memory. So you could actually the private information is you could grab with PHP, you could grab the host ID, send it to System Manager. It'll actually restart that EC2, flush that memory, right, and send it back out to be in operation, right. And my favorite thing is incident response. All right, so if you see something that's trying to do lateral movement, you can take the IP address, and we'll dig into there. We got a whole forensic network subnet. We would move that EC2 and copy it, flush the memory, flush the open files. But we're going to dig into that's the case for the end. So, but once again, part of your incident management, you can detect alerts, then you can do automation. So that's some of the automation we're going to talk about at the end, right? So we talk about compliance engineer, privacy engineer. That's some of that stuff from that and get that rolling. Shout out to Larry. Appreciate him for joining. What's good, party salute? Appreciate you. Let's see what my man said. Would you say CloudWatch is the go-to? Also, any particular recommendation, resource to learn about it? Yeah, for AWS, CloudWatch is definitely one of the logging. There's actually two of them, but yeah, CloudWatch is definitely part of that. So two is a lot of people do CloudWatch, then they actually, after 30 days, send it to Splunk or Elcache. So yeah, I would learn it. We're gonna do some videos on that, how to set up CloudWatch, how to go to EC2, how to go to your VPC, and they make it pretty simple. VPC, that's an AWS resource. Start logging the CloudWatch. EC2, start logging the CloudWatch. So AWS makes it easier with a click of a button to start sending that stuff to CloudWatch, and we're going to once again start digging in that too. But yeah, definitely part of the there's SIEM, there's short-term SIEM. So we definitely need to talk about. Then part of System Manager is you can set up CloudWatch triggers, and it once again, if it fills up or you get so many IP addresses or the memory doesn't release, you can set up a CloudWatch metric. That's what they call it. Then when that metric hits a certain threshold, fire off a PHP and do something, right? Copy something, shut something down. Once again, we're going to go through some security forensics on the back end. Shout out to Ty. Shout out definitely for the kit. Glad he could join us. Keep it techie. Is it similar to AWS Inspector? No, you would use AWS Inspector to feed in the incident response, right? AWS Inspector is going to give you those findings and those issues. Incident Manager says, okay, if I get an incident from Inspector, say we have a finding like we didn't patch something or something's, something's a high, we didn't set up the encryption keys in KMS, that would be a finding in Inspector. Then that finding would go in that incident manager, and that incident would cause some to cause you to actually fix it. Like that would be an alert. So the AWS Inspector would cause an alert that you will log an incident manager. So where you see where you detect an alert, AWS Inspector, once again, their findings can feed into CloudWatch. That CloudWatch will detect it. Then when that CloudWatch would say, send a email to the security team because they don't have encryption on, like that's a finding, right? So that's more of a scanning tool. Incident Manager, you could put stuff in there that's manual, right? It's more of a run book and what are you gonna do if that incident or that finding happens. Let me know if that makes sense, JM. Let's see, CloudWatch then. A lot of CloudWatch is actually free to up to a certain limit because it's going to flush itself. AWS, if you look in there, and we can look at it, a lot of CloudWatch, they let you get a lot of logging in there. They know you need that from forensics perspective, and if you're doing any of the HIPAA, high trust, NIST type stuff. You got to be logging those. And NIST and IRS Pub 1075, CSF, they tell you what they need to log. So AWS is pretty generous with the space you get in there. So your budget, unless you're doing something petabytes-ish like Facebook and Instagram, you'll be okay. We'll look at that, the cost for that. It's not very much. Once again, shout out to Larry. Shout out to B2B. I think he's doing everyday Christmas. Shout out to him. I got to jump in his working session. You going tonight, B2B? But once again, incident manager, you would set up your incident. You can receive alert. You can provide more information. Then at the end, especially from a compliance standpoint, you got to do validation or remediate that issue, right? If you don't have the right level of encryption on a database, you don't have the right level of encryption on a web server, app server, right? So how would you validate or remediate that to close the case? So incident priorities is some of the things you can do. Create an AWS support center console or API. Have a different classification and an incident created in an AMS console. Here's other incidents, low, medium, and high. I found another one that was in our documentation here. It's a little more in depth. From a triage perspective, triage is when first responders attempt to determine the impact to the customer. The incident details view in the incident manager console provides the responders with timelines and metrics to help them assess the incident. Assessing the impact of the incident also lays the groundwork for the response time, resolution, communication for the incident. Responders prioritize incidents by using the impact rating. 1 is critical and 5 is no impact. So you see it there, critical, full application failure that impact most customers. High, full application failure that impacts a subset of customers. Medium, partial application failure that's a customer impacting. Low, intermittent failures that have limited impact on customers. No impact, customers aren't currently impacted, but urgent action is needed to avoid an impact, right? One of those would be kind of like we were talking about. If you were eating up memory and releasing, the app is getting slow, but there's no current impact. But if you let it run another 4 or 5 hours, you're going to have an impact, right? So that's how you go from no impact and you see it. But hopefully with this, you get an email out, you can get ahead of that before it becomes an impact. Yes, sir. What time you going on, B2B? Let's see. Would the entire process be handled by CloudWatch for reports? Now, CloudWatch, you can kick off some reports, but you could use Athena. There's some built-in tools, but CloudWatch data can be read by built-in services such as Athena, and there's another one. And they're actually, I talked a little bit about it yesterday. So yeah, with those Athena, it can read those CloudWatch metrics to come up with reports for you. That's the good and bad thing about AWS. They usually have everything figured out, but there's usually a lot of services, so you got to figure out the best way to handle it. So a lot of times people take CloudWatch because it's gonna, after 3 months or 60 days, it's gonna overwrite itself. So a lot of times you take it, put it in DynamoDB, which is their database that you can save those metrics. Then you can do time series over time, right? But you gotta take them from somewhere from CloudWatch, right? So you can, a lot of people move CloudWatch to Splunk, and Splunk's got a ton of built-in reports. So we know Splunk is pricey though, so that's kind of one of the issues with it. Oh, let me keep going. Like I said, it's pretty short. I just kind of chopped it up at a high end. So these are the things that are in Incident Manager, and we saw some of alerting and engagement. Bring awareness to incidents within your application. Triage, determine the impact to customers. Prioritize active incidents. Investigate and mitigation. Investigate and mitigate using the incident dashboard runbooks, timelines, and metrics. And we always want to do a post-incident analysis, reflect the incident, and formulate ways to improve customers' experience. Right. Sometimes they're not ours. I do post-incident. We did one on Snowflake. which was for uh, what's the ticket masters. All right, so we could actually put that in there and do post incident analysis and talk about how will it affect us. Then out of that, we could put new alerts, new triage, new run books and dashboards built in on somebody else's incident. And that's too what you want to do. You want to learn from other people's incidents, so hopefully it won't happen to you. Right. And two is and even this and Irish Pups, you got to document that somewhere. Right. That post action. They want to see what you learned and what you implemented from those type of things as a security program. So on the post analysis, let's see what Dynatrace is still going strong. So, oh yeah, facts. Dynatrace isn't bad. I used that at DOT. I think that was around like 2007. Dynatrace is pretty good, especially on the memory stuff. I think we were using it to track down our memory leaks. Those are a lot easier to find now, but in the old days when you had a big Java app, there wasn't a lot out there. Incident Manager provides a framework for reflecting on incidents, taking steps needed to prevent incidents from occurring again in the future. We talked about that. Change the application involved in an incident. Your team can use this time to improve the system by making it more fault tolerant. All right. So the Snowflake one was you got to have MFA connected. All right. So that would take care of 95% of what was happening with it. Have an incident response plan. Take time to incorporate your lessons learned. We were just talking about that. Change runbooks. Your team can deep dive into steps needed for resolution and the steps that you can automate. Change to alerting after an incident. Your team might have a notice of critical points in the metrics. Your team sooner about an incident. Right. So that's kind of how you want to get in front of that. And everybody's doing runbooks now. So how can you automate it? And even if it's not automate, what the steps you need to take and where would you need to go to find that? I have not. I have not. I tested. Now, I don't know anybody that used Snowball. I don't know anybody that has data big enough where they needed to put it on a external device and email it somewhere. I mean, and send it to them and let them know. I actually did a video on that. Have you seen the snowmobile? They had an 18-wheeler. You can put like 5 terabytes on it. It looked like a data center on 18 wheels. I've never heard of anybody using it. They showed a couple of their customers. I think they were shut down the snowmobile, which was their 18-wheeler. I have not seen anybody use that. That was actually on my test, though. Shout out to the practitioner, AWS practitioner. The Snowball was actually on the test. I haven't took it in 3 years, though. So, no, shout out to that. But yeah. So, now I haven't seen anybody. It's a cool thing. Like I said, I did a video. I really like the 18-wheeler. I think they were shutting it down. Here, let's look at the quick video. AWS has like a minute on it. So, let's check on that. Then we let's see. Let's share switch. Oh. Let's see now. Let's see. Why is it not letting me? Oh, there it is. Hold on, I'm trying to get this screen to share. There's the tab. There it is right there. PBO struggle streaming. I think I got it. Let's check.
Downtime is frustrating. It annoys customers, affects your company. Application downtime is frustrating. It annoys customers, affects your company's reputation, and can impact revenue. Traditionally, availability problems and performance issues can take a long time to fix because the root cause is difficult to diagnose. On-call engineers need time to manually gather troubleshooting data from different systems and figure out who to coordinate with to mitigate the impact of the issue. Incident Manager, a new capability from AWS Systems Manager, addresses these frustrations by helping you resolve problems faster and more efficiently. It prepares operations teams with automated response plans that bring the right people and information together when a critical issue is detected. Incident Manager initiates the response plan you've put in place. On-call engineers are given a runbook to follow, letting them get started with the right information. And manual tasks can be automated, helping them resolve the issue faster. The incident dashboard tracks updates, metrics, and runbook progress. This feature integrates with popular chat and ticketing systems from AWS partners to raise visibility and promote collaboration. The dashboard also shows a timeline of exactly what happened and when, helping you analyze how to improve detection, diagnosis, and remediation. Incident Manager then suggests post-incident action items, like automating a runbook step or adding a new alarm, so you can respond faster to incidents in the future. Get started today with AWS Systems Manager Incident Manager.
Shout out to AWS. They always giving you something to buy, making your life a little easier. So let's see. Let's get back going. Let's see. Okay. So I was thinking if we had an incident, all right. So that's the AWS org. So that's the security. You see us in the middle, security OU. Then the forensics is when somebody hacks a system or a cozy bear Russia gets in a system, we need to take that EC2 and put it somewhere, right? So we would take it out of production, put it in forensics, right, and get it ready for the forensic teams to dial in and do their forensic investigation. Very few small to medium-sized companies has a forensic specialist on staff. You have forensic people, but if you have a forensic incident, they usually like to give it a third party because that takes a lot of legal issues off of yours. If you miss something or something goes crazy, right, you can say you hired this company, their forensic teams. They give you attestations and certifications to validate their level. All right. So a lot of companies I've worked for and in the past worked for, they actually outsource that out to a third party company. So part of the incident is if we had an incident in production and EC2 we thought got hacked, we would take that ID in Incident Manager. We could put it in there. It could move it to our forensic OU with the EC2, make a copy of it. Then part of that runbook will be flush the memory because when there's a virus or something in memory, after a certain amount of time, it can flush out. So you want to write stuff from memory to disk. What open files were open? You want to take a snapshot because as time goes by, that stuff can age out, time out. The operating system will flush stuff out. So you want to move stuff in forensic and start writing stuff to the disk. So when your forensic people came, you can have a snapshot in time of what happened. So once again, you can have Incident Manager do that for you as part of your cybersecurity incident. And so you see some of that accessing your forensic infrastructure. That was our forensic infrastructure over there. To your right, if you're actually looking at the screen. Responders acquire evidence, investigator analyze evidence, data custodian manage, copy, delete, expire evidence. Shout out to the GRC family. Data custodian from a privacy standpoint. Analysts assess forensic reports for analytics trends and forecasting threats intelligence. But once again, you can set that up in the Incident Manager to set that up, get it ready for the respondent, get it ready for your investigator. And once you get over there, have your data custodian go over and check the data to see if it actually was hacked. Then once again, your forensic count and your you can have it in the same region or a different region. Incoming data, that's the evidence artifacts, active investigation, root directory with the ticket number, extracted artifacts. We talked about some of those, your notes and your reports. Legal hold, if you got legal evidence or something you want your legal staff to look at, if you thought something was breached or the timing of the breach or how many records got breached, you might want to put that on a legal hold. Or if you think somebody was actually stealing information, you could in a legal hold lock all their emails, lock all their team stuff, lock all their Active Directory stuff, and put that evidence out there from that particular active investigation coming from that particular incident. All right. So there's a few things you can do from a forensic standpoint. So once again, just touching on AWS Incident Manager, I like to look at different services so I have an understanding from a compliance standpoint and a security standpoint. I might not be an expert in, but sometimes just mention them, giving other people ideas or doing something new in your company. Hey, we need to do incident manager. We need to flow this to our other projects. Pager that text phone, your phone for different incidents. So that kind of stuff. Just wanted to kind of put a few things out there. I dropped the link if anybody want to come up. So I just really wanted to touch on incident manager. That's got to be a first for me. 30 minutes. Shout out to me. So shout out to Farron. Thanks for joining me. Once again, just another one of the services. Well, hopefully in the future we'll actually put an incident in, make it actually copy some from production to a forensic OU and get it ready for your red team to come in and check it out. So just some of the automation we could put in from a compliance standpoint, compliance engineer, GRC perspective, right? Because GRC, we would actually make sure if something happened, there'd be an incident ticket somewhere. It could be here somewhere, but we need a ticket to make sure that work gets done. Because when auditors come in, if you have a finding, they want to say, okay, this was the finding, this was the ticket to get it fixed. This is how we verified it was fixed, and this is what we did once we fixed it. This is how we tested, and this is how we got it back in production. So there's some of the things at a high level. Once again, I'll hang out a little longer. PBO is running out of gas. I think I ate something that didn't quite agree with me. So we're going to see what's going on. This might be my shortest one ever. I want to appreciate everybody for joining me. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Ty. Shout out to AB for joining us. Shout out to Before the Billions. I'm sure I'll get a little rest and jump on his stream tonight. Shout out to Ty. Shout out to Larry. Shout out to JM. Let me know if I answered your AWS Inspector question. Let me look up AWS Inspector while we're talking. Inspector. Yep, that's the vulnerability management service. So when you do your vulnerability scan, right, that will have findings. Those findings will go on Incident Manager, and those findings we would have to fix, right? We're in an old version. We need to update a newer patch, right? There's a lot of things vulnerability scan. We need to we're using the wrong something or other. Or we need to upgrade to the next version, right? That would go in Incident Manager. The runbook could actually automatically, because you could actually use System Manager, automatically update your OS. I wouldn't do that without testing it, but you could. So I would probably update it in a test environment. Right, we used to have some called Model Office. That's actually the test that matches production. So in that Model Office, I will update it to the newest patch. Usually we have automated test jobs we can run to make sure it's not broken. And once that gets verified and passed, then we can do the automation in production for that OS upgrade. So that's kind of something like that would work in real life. Once again, I dropped the link if anybody wants to come up. Oh, let's see who came. Oh, my man B2B. What's up, B2B? Suited up. What's going on?
Hey, PBO, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Running out a little gas, but I can't complain, man.
I feel you, man. I did my live stream last night. I was yawning and everything. I was like, oh my God.
I missed it. What time you usually come on at night? I know aren't you trying to go everything for Xmas, every day for Xmas?
Yeah, man. I either making a live stream or video.
Okay.
So I made a video earlier today, and then I may do a live stream. We're gonna see, but usually it's around like that 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, because it's late night work session, which is late for people. So
I'm right there with you. I go at 9 on Tuesday. Shout out to Chris Whitlock. He's like, you need to go early. I'm like, I'm B2B be later than that, man. I got it from B2B. My late night.
So. Yeah, man. I had somebody earlier today. They was talking about how they go to sleep at 10 o'clock. I was like, yeah, man. I wish I had that lifestyle.
That's
go
me,
to sleep
man.
At 10.
I usually wake up super early, but sometimes I do go to bed a little early, especially when I'm running out of gas. So like, I'm gonna go to bed and I wake up at some crazy hour in the middle of the night.
Right. But yeah, PPO. Oh, I wanted to tell you, man, I am getting more experience with AWS now, and I just use AWS RDS, and AWS Glue, for batch and streaming processes.
I was going to do one on Glue because you put the data out there, theoretically come up with a data dictionary and help you read it all off the fly. And so there's a lot of, I think I did a video on Glue, to be honest. But yeah, I was a big fan of Glue. And then pair that with Athena, those two together, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, man. So right now it is creating tables for Snowflake. So I didn't realize that you can use all these different cloud providers to just feed into the other, right?
Yeah,
but
they got good integration because everybody want to be in AWS, so they make that integration pretty easy now.
Yeah, so because I did it previously in my old company, we used Google, and Google would you could use it to create tables in Elasticsearch, which another cloud provider. So
a lot of people use Elasticsearch for SIM, but you can use it for other stuff, right? It's a repository of info, so you can use it for a couple of stuff.
Yeah, man. Heard it was fast too. So.
Oh yeah. Do me a favor, run this. I'm gonna come right back. Give my audience something. Just give them something. I'll be right back.
I got you, PBO.
All right.
Yeah, man. I was actually talking about a topic earlier today. I went to something called the Hope Global Forum here in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was full of a whole bunch of different entrepreneurs and technologists, and everybody just going there to be able to grow in their careers and professionally. So I was talking to one of the guys. He was talking about how most people are unaware of the amount of opportunities that you can have by just getting outside of your house. If you go out there and you try to network with people, you'll be able to get more opportunities like I've been getting, which is getting more speaking engagements. I'm able to speak to kids about how to build a website, and that's really impactful for them, getting them ready and started early so that way they can be future technologists. I was speaking at Clayton State University just last week to some of the students before their graduation about, hey, this is how you get a job in technology. This is how you can grow when you do get that job. And then I recently just made a video about how to become a data leader. And essentially, it just means that you have to be able to be versatile within your own role. So whether you want to become a data engineer, if you want to become a data scientist or a data analyst, business analyst, and any other technical role, you still need to be able to understand the business and the business use case behind why companies will make certain decisions. So whenever PPO talks about, hey, these companies are using AWS, well, hey, yeah, everybody wants to be in AWS for a specific reason. Netflix, their whole architecture is based off of AWS. And there's a lot of other big tech companies based off of AWS as well, like their cloud providers. But the second best right now in the market, or the other cloud provider that has the most market share, is Azure, which is owned by Microsoft under the Microsoft umbrella. And another business use case that companies would use to say, hey, well, AWS started early. They have the majority of the market share. A lot of the big tech companies utilize them. And just like how PPO said, the integrations between their AWS marketplace is so vast and powerful that a lot of companies will go with an AWS. But you'll also have people who will go with Azure because Microsoft likes to package a lot of things. So you'll have a lot of people with Azure for their cloud provider, and then you'll see them with Microsoft 365 and they get a discount for it. So it's a lot of different use cases and reasonings as to why. But overall, I believe that it really boils down to the amount of relationships that people have. Because let's say you get a job in any company, you have to do more than just do your job. And maybe just the bare minimum or just exactly what they expect. But if you ever try to grow within your career, you have to understand the reasonings as to why. You have to have people who know you to be efficient or a good person for a specific role. So PPO, I don't know. Did you hear any of what I said?
Yeah, I did. I was popping it out. I must say something
Okay.
in agreement. But you're right. Every time a business does, they doing it for a business reason, right? I think we get
Yeah.
enamored. Technology's there to make money, and to make money, it's usually for a business reason. It's not for a technology reason. So
Yeah,
you're specifically
exactly.
right. So then part of
Yeah.
that too is,
Mhm.
are you complying with HIPAA, high trust? So that usually helps you focus on what your security is and what you need to do for that. So
Yep. And another thing I was saying is like when people are trying to you try to grow into a leader or trying to get into some sort of a management or even just get to the next level, you have to do more than just your job, man. You have to be
no
able
facts.
to grow, and people have to know who you are and know that you're good for the next level. And because it's not always about just being the smartest or being the strongest
Mm-mm.
in a specific skill set.
No.
Sometimes you may not know what's going on really, but if you
Oh,
know the
facts.
business use case and people know you and people like you, they'll be able to give you the opportunity.
Oh, 100%. Because you got to, people forgot, man. PMs were made because tech couldn't communicate with people. That's a whole domain that makes six figures, and they really
Mhm.
just communicate between the tech and the business, right? That's what the whole office space. I take the requirements to the right. That's what PMs do.
Mhm.
AB has AWS Systems Manager has been compliant with various regulatory standards since it has launched. I just was looking at that. They're not FedRAMP certified yet. I was digging through in there. I'm pretty sure with the region and where you put it at, I'm pretty sure it could be compliant. The other issue a lot of times with incident manager in there, usually there's no PII or even PII or even sensitive data in there. You usually saying these are the run books and this is how we're gonna run it. So a lot of times there's really, depending on how you install it and where you install, usually there's not a lot of regulatory standards for it. Um, because once again, you're not going to have PII or FTI in there. Now, the part where you use System Manager to start touching those environments, I think System Manager needs to be regulatory. But I think Incident Manager, where you keep the run books and stuff, I don't think that is. But I need to dig down a little deeper into that. That's a good question, AB. So yeah, we have to get in there and chop it up and talk about glue. Glue had a bug in it. I wouldn't say got hacked, but you can actually do a lateral movement. Of course, AWS fixed that ASAP. I did a video on that. I
Yeah.
think it was glue.
I was talking about how powerful the AWS marketplace is.
Oh yeah.
Because that's I know you don't like WordPress, but that is the beauty of using tools like a AWS or
hmm
WordPress, because you can do so many things in it,
hmm
and it may not always hit like specific requirements. So that's the only thing about it, is that because AWS does have a marketplace, not every company can use it,
100%, 100%.
but
But
it does give you more bang for your buck.
no, I agree with that. Time to go knock out your course. True, I need to start getting on that. Shout out to just to let everyone know I'm accepted to the Will Reads Better Everyday GRC Apprenticeship Program sometimes next week. So hopefully I get it. Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck.
Let's see. I started chapter 4 tonight for AWS. I did bad on the chapter question at the end of chapter 3. I wouldn't worry about it. I do bad too, man. That's why you learning, so you can get better. Hey, we already live in an hour in the future for me. Shout out to my man. Let's see. Yeah, I was going to say, what is that? What integration would you desire to AWS Incident Manager to have contacts to GRC? Like I said, a ticket system. Most of that stuff, people running ServiceNow will be the 100-pound gorilla. So part of incident managers, when we got an incident, we need to have tickets in our ticket system because 99% of the people got a ticket system. So those incidents or findings or whatever, those should be tickets and they should get worked. So the main one would be, and they said that in the video, they have partners. So I would integrate it with a ticket system because that's how you know the work got done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's funny. I was thinking about Glue, DynamoDB, Redshift, and Athena. That's kind of their data engineering warehouse type tools together, integrating stuff. So I was going to look at that from a security perspective and see how you would move data and make sure it was encrypted and locked down between kind of those technologies.
Yeah, man, it's a lot. I am noticing a lot of the time, like we're upgrading our security heavily, and they were talking about we need to get more serious about it, but now it's going to be more of a requirement to have metadata for creating like these pipelines, or like, okay, how can we find the data? What is it even for? Because it's hard to protect something you don't even know what it's about.
That's big. A lot of people don't realize, especially for a big company, man, they got data out. Then, to know it's from health and hospital, especially the IRS, you got to know where it came from so you can classify it. Yep. So now we know the data source. So we're trying to do, and I'm going to do a video of that. How do you data tag it while it's coming in? Because you know the data source. Then the way that tag is, you can trace it all the way through your pipeline and even to the database, NoSQL, or even S3 buckets. So you can say, this came from the IRS's tag, and I know it's where it's from, and I can track it. A lot of times, people aren't tracking it, which is hard. So,
yeah, and I noticed, man, is that sometimes it's actually better to set up process instead of having like human error. Like remember in my previous company, like everything was kind of set up. Like, oh, you can go into the UI and make the changes and stuff, and that's cool and all, but it led to a lot of issues.
It's not cool, but go ahead. It's not cool,
right? I'm
cool.
saying like it's
you cowboying it up.
It's convenient,
right? But you can't track shit. So when it's broke, you're like, okay, there's no formal process.
You're right.
So where I'm from, you got to put it in test. You got to check it in. You got to put some notes of what you checked in so you can track it. We call that cowboying up. That's CMM level 1. You need Superman to come in there and fix it.
Right.
Yeah, but
the thing that's better to me is setting a process.
Oh, 100%.
So you have your CI/CD pipeline with GitHub as an example.
Yeah.
And then through GitHub, you have your checks and balances where you can review the changes that's going to be made. You can go in and you can run Linux scripts and Bash scripts.
Yeah.
To be able to like run the code, so that way, like you run the code, but it connects to GitHub, so that way you know exactly the thing that you reviewed is going to be going through, instead of it being like you type it in and you change it yourself. So that's even better, right?
Oh, that's the way it's got to be. Facts.
Yeah.
Then you can do blue-green testing. You can have a small environment tested in production and roll it out to a subset of your production. Then once that's certified, you can roll it out to the rest of your production, right? Blue-green, because Facebook said they put something in production every 3 or 4 minutes. It's all automated.
Yep.
So
and that makes sense, right? Because like you set up the CI/CD pipeline, and you like, okay, well, I need to be able to like get something out done, but there's a little bit of bureaucracy, right? There's some process behind it before you can even get to the point where you can make any changes. I had to work on like a huge change where it was like 165 tables, millions of rows are going to be affected. And I'm like, hey, look, this didn't pass the checks. You know, this didn't pass. I can't do nothing about it right now.
yeah,
You gotta fix your code.
facts.
Or they have this thing, and multiple companies have it. I've seen them at conferences before. They have Git Guardian as an example for like in your GitHub, and you can go in and set it so that way you don't have any secrets in your code.
Oh yeah, and we were talking about that yesterday. There's a ton of secrets, keys, and passwords. People just, I guess, ain't double checking it. Yeah, for hard coding it in there. It's not 100%. So we make you can use secret manager in AWS or parameter manager. So they got a couple ways to do it. So.
Yeah, man. And then also another thing about some of these what do you call them, the accounts, I'm thinking about like the
service accounts.
Service accounts. That's it.
Yeah, service account. Yeah.
So yeah, your service accounts, and then sometimes the password will change on the service account because it's on a set time where it's valid, and you have to go in and change the password.
Yeah, we use that. One thing that's built into Microsoft is I gotta think of the name of it. Changes every 24 hours for you and keeps it in sync.
What's the name? Like, is it KMS? Well, I think that's for Google.
Yeah, that's for let me see. What is that? MSA account. MSA account.
Okay.
Yeah, MSA account in Microsoft.
What would it be for AWS?
We run MSA accounts in AWS because inside AIM you can do an MSA account because you connect into a Windows database. So that's part of that Windows infrastructure. But you use IAM to kick it off.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, let me look at that real quick.
Yeah, man. And then also another thing is I forgot. I think you probably would know like the name of some of the technologies where you can't just log in directly into a virtual machine. You have to like do MFA.
Yep.
Like you can't just use PuTTY to like log into your virtual machine. You have like other tools, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. There's
people use Octave, Beyond Trust. There's a couple different bigger ones. I actually use Cisco Duo inside my AWS because you get
Cisco Duo.
Yeah, you get 10 free accounts, so that's what I use. I probably start living on it. So yeah, you can use Cisco Duo. So to go in mine, it's gonna send the code to my phone. So if you try to steal my root account, unless you hit me over the head and get my phone, you won't be able to get it.
Right. Yeah, man, because there's so many different like tools that kind of do the same thing, right?
Oh, yeah, ton of them.
Yeah, so I remember I was using one of these tools where you had to like log in and you had to be on VPN in order to get like a passcode, like a temporary passcode to be able to log into the virtual machine. And then from there, everything is tracked. So it has a key logger that will track like every single command that you do.
Yeah, because on Linux, once you SU super users to sudo start doing work, we log everything you do. Yeah, because you're on a privileged account, you got to log in with your regular account, but then you got to sudo to upgrade to that. Then in your sudo list, we tell you what commands you can run. Because as a web admin, I got web admins. As a DBA, you have certain things you can run. So the only people that have everything really is the essays of the Windows. And when I was at DoD, I think we only had 3 of them. We had about 700 people. We only had 3 people with that one. So.
But yeah, man, it's really interesting. Like when you really go down, and I understand, like from the security perspective, it will make sense to have like certain checks in place for that. Like I remember one time I was doing some work in the QA environment, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you have to make this change." And then I made the change, and they like needed some new columns into the table.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran my process, added the new columns in, and then one of my team members was like, had looked at it, and they pulled up the history. I had never heard of history before until this happened.
You on Linux?
It was the Linux
Yeah,
virtual machine.
yeah. History's been out there. Yeah, that's been out there forever.
I had never heard of it before at this time.
Dot
Right?
H. Dot H. You can see the history. Yep.
So they looked at the history because we were like using like the service account or the same account, and they were looking at it. It was like, wait, can you explain to me why you ran this for QA? I was like, oh, this was one of the things, and for the like the requirements. We can't use that one. We have to use this other command because we provide both the data. We provide the data, and then also we own the pipeline for consuming the data as well. So you have to like run a completely different command.
Yeah.
So I was sitting here like, man, y'all got this so complex or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind. We talk about that. Like sometimes I think you make security so complex, you're not getting value out of it, right? So okay. You want him to use the same user, but if I'm a hacker keylogger, it's on the same box. So I'm capturing all of that. So I mean, what's the value of that? Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, we talk about that.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes I think we be doing security just to have security. So a lot of times we like, okay. And two is, can we automate something like that? Okay, if you know this is the thing, can we check those files somewhere and it'll just run what it needs to run? Right? There's some stuff where you change a data dictionary and databases. You can put those files somewhere and just let it. Once you check the data dictionary and your create statements, it just runs them. You don't have to run them. It just run it as part of the pipeline. So
yeah, that's what I'm getting more into as well. Like just like clicking the button to click run, and then if it fails, it like lets you know like whatever the issue was.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also helps you because a lot of the tools that have like automation that you can create automations in, or certain orchestration tools like Apache Airflow to set up your pipelines.
Yeah,
you can put your code in there, and then it'll make it so that way your computer isn't the one that's running everything. Right. Because if you're like, let's say Putty or your the thing that you do to log into your virtual machine, it logs you out over time. Yeah. Then now your process doesn't run unless you like do like the background run or something like
no
that.
hub. Yeah, you do no hub and let it run in the background.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, something like that could happen, right? Like maybe you don't run that, and then now your session ends.
Oh yeah, my boss would get you. We had to run everything no hub because he expect all our jobs to be but you're right. A lot of people are not hip to no hub, so actually it runs in the background. So if your session dies, it still be running in the background. Because we ran big jobs in the old days, they could run for 4 hours. Yeah, if you're dealing with a relational database. If you got to build a foreign key or something, man, that shit could take 3 hours, man, to build an old style foreign key. So,
yeah, man, I remember this one because a lot of the jobs, because there's millions of roles that you could be working with.
Billions. I did with billions.
See, I work on big systems, right?
Billions, man.
Billions, impacting billions of people, of records and stuff, and then if you mess it up, now you got to run it again.
Oh man, I did something. My boss, I don't know what I did, but I misfingered something in the foreign key. It ran for 3 hours, and we looked at it. He's like, "Dude, you put it to the wrong table." I'm like, "Oh shit, my bad. We got to run another 3 hours." He like, "Dude, we ain't gonna never go home."
Yeah, you gotta wait, right?
You gotta wait.
Yeah, like, you gotta wait till it finishes because
I blamed our tester. I was like, "Phyllis didn't catch it, man. That's on Phyllis, man. She's supposed to check it."
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so.
Yeah, man. So there's a lot of different things, and I'm glad that if you do, and this isn't true for everything, right? But if you mess up, a lot of people can be understanding of like depending right on how big the impact is. But sometimes people can be understanding, like you misclick something, okay, now we can just run it again, right?
Yeah, but
But
you right, but especially when you new, people be trying you, man. So they want to nitpick any small thing you do. Once you once people know who you are, you develop that rapport, you develop some good points. But if you just start, man, people be tearing you up over, and for them, that's a quality check you should have done and got right. So people can be understanding, but I seen people be assholes over that because that could be 3 or 4 hours, man. And sometimes your batch window's not that big. B2B, you got like even over a weekend, man. You mess up a couple 4-hour jobs a couple times. Shit, that's 12 hours.
mm-hmm.
Now a lot of that you could do in parallel. So you're like, okay, we can make it up, but sometimes they're dependent on other jobs. So if you can't, I got the foreign key, you can't run a select, you can't update it to validate the records. So then the whole project starts shifting and everybody's looking at you, man. So
yeah, that's true. But I'm trying to tell you, man, everybody messes up at one point. And there is nobody on earth who has never made a mistake.
no, I agree, but some people are more forgiving than others, and depending too
Mm-hmm.
is depending on what you built up goodwill for the company. If you're on the edge and you keep messing up, hey, you're gonna go in there and HR is gonna be on that teams meeting with you, right? So now if you got goodwill and you've been, starring, my boss used to say, what you got 10 out of boys, but you get one fuck up. Every one fuck up, you need 10 out of boys to balance them out, man. So
yep. But I remember something about so what I started doing was before I make changes in production, I need to get buy-in before the change actually happens, or because if you do something in production, I ain't trying to end up like a crowd strike. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of make sure everything's running fine in QA first because if you mess up in QA, that's different, right?
Oh, 100%. You're supposed to mess up in QA. You fine in QA.
Yeah, right. So if you mess up in QA, it's kind of a little bit more understandable, right?
Yeah.
But
But for
then,
us, we had DUT. You're supposed to do a developer unit test before you go to QA. My boss would come me like, "What? I need to see your DUT. How did you test that?" And people be stuttering. They're like, "I tested in QA." He like, "I'm about to fire your ass right now." He wants you to show it in developer unit test with no data. Then QA's got data before you go to production, right? So
yeah,
we were strict. But go ahead. So yeah,
and I think that also comes into communication, right? Because if you don't communicate that you're running something, the people don't know that you making a change to production or you making a change to QA. Then that's when you run into the most issues, right? If you mess up something, but you let everybody know, hey, I'm gonna be running this at this time, then it will be a little bit more. Okay, hey, I let you know that I'm doing this, or this is how long it's taking. It's taking me 3 hours for this to finish, or something like that.
But y'all should talk about that in the stand-up. And our stand-ups be like, okay, this is what we doing today. We doing this in QA. Who's in QA? Because sometimes you can step on each other, right? You could be changing stuff that I think is going to be static that I need. So, we try to communicate that in the stand-up. My man Ty said it depends on his job, as many aren't forgiving.
Yeah, man. But I mean, seriously, though. And then another thing is, even if you get fired from a job, you get more. You have more experience now than you did before to be able to get the next job.
The cool thing though is if you do it correctly, a lot of things you mess up, as long as you do them in QA and test in your next job, you can warn people. This is a got you. This is stuff I figured out. This is stuff as a big organization we try to do and it just didn't work. Right? Sometimes some will work at a small scale, but when you try to run it through a billion rows, I ran something was so smooth. It was like 10,000 rows. Man, I got in our QA and it was a billion rows. That shit was gonna take 30 days to run. Man, I was like, hey man, it ran quick. And he's like, dude, it's only 1,000 records, man. I was like, oh shit, that took like 10 minutes to run. I thought it was good. He said, nah, you extrapolate out over a billion rows, that's gonna be like 30 days. I shit you down. I was like, oh shit, I gotta rewrite that, man. So,
yeah. Or find some process to be able to optimize or make it more efficient.
Long story. Right? So I'm interviewing. I probably was, I believe, a top 10 programmer, but what we started doing was 1% of big data. This guy came from Discover. His name is Durrell. killer stuff, man. He was doing stuff I've never seen before. And I thought I was the top of the line PL SQL Oracle guru. Man, he brought some stuff from Discovery. And the crazy thing is, it was like 20 lines. Once he showed it to me, I was like, oh shit, but I would have never figured out some stuff like that. He was doing temporary SQL views on the fly, so it'll all be in memory. It would never flush the disk till the end. Every time you commit to an Oracle database or SQL, it's got to do a checkpoint, rollback. He said, all that takes time. So you need to try to do it in one big transaction. I was like, I don't know. I'll be committing like every, 10,000 rows so I won't lose the data. He's like, no, it's an Oracle application server. But just learning those type of techniques, right, that just makes you better. And like when you start going to reInvent with AWS, they show a lot of that stuff online now. So a lot of stuff you can go online and I tell people, if you learn AWS, go to their reInvent big conference. They got they got them online, and they tell you if it's beginner or immediate or expert level, and they show you some stuff. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know you could do that. So,
yeah, man, and that's interesting though too, because I almost went to reInvent. Well, I almost got a ticket to go to reInvent.
Okay,
but missed out on the deadline to apply for it. But yeah, man, I think that I don't know if I said it earlier or if you heard me, but I was saying that you don't always need to be the best at something.
No, I never was the best, but I was the best communicator. Shout out to, we had a kind of big Indian team and a foreign team, so I just communicated between them and the users technically.
Yeah.
So, because somebody's got, like you said, project lead and lead them. So yeah, you have to be persistent, you have to be grinding, you have to get new skills, because a lot of times the best people are assholes and they can't communicate too. So but no, that's 100%.
Yeah, man. I was like, I don't know who the smartest person in the United States is, but I know who the president is.
Oh yeah, facts.
You know what I mean?
No, it is too. A lot of times is those people working for one of the big FANG companies. Everybody ain't gonna have the smartest person on the planet. So if you had the top 10%, you got top 10% of the skills, you have a great life, man. You have a great life, especially if you can do it over multiple architectures. Meaning, I was a decent SA. My DBA skills are good. I could program. So me being decent at all those levels makes me above average architect, because most people aren't familiar with the whole stack. So.
Yeah, man. A lot of people. I remember talking to one of our senior VPs of the company, and we asked them like, "Oh, how did you get this position?" And they were like, "Look, my network brought me up to this point. You didn't get there by yourself.
No, true.
Like, you can be as technical as you possibly want to be, but you probably will never reach to the heights of like a C-level executive of a Fortune 500 company if you don't have a team backing you or bringing you up to the top."
Yeah, that's a lot of times when you come in, they bring their team with them. That's why they be firing people, because they putting their people that they're comfortable with inside that team. Long story short, and I'm an interviewer. She was our project manager at DoD. She became the CIO for the state of Indiana. She invited me to work for her because I've helped her in other projects. I was helping with different teams. So she's like, I want you to come work for me, right? So like you said, I got that spot because she invited me. Now my skills and what I've done, over the years helped me, but she got me there and she made sure I got paid on top of that. Shout out to Alita Jeffries. We'll have to get her on the channel.
Yeah, definitely, man.
But no, that's
and also PBO, let me tell you something that happened earlier today, man, that was interesting. Is that you follow me on LinkedIn, and I was in the elevator with some of my coworkers, and they was like, "William, you post a lot on LinkedIn. You're very active." And the thing is that there's like 1 billion people on LinkedIn, but only 2% of the user base actually uses and posts content on the platform.
True.
So I just consistently post on this. So it seems like I just post a lot. But it was somebody I had never met before. Somebody who I do not know. They were like, they already knew my name.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know we were even connected.
That's the cool thing is when you connect with people, your stuff's gonna flow on their timeline. So then they be like, well, then too, they like, well, we work for the same company. The people start tracking you down. So
Yep, somebody came up. They were like, "Oh, do you know such and such?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I know who that is." Oh yeah, he was telling me about you about your LinkedIn post. So
that's cool. That's cool.
yeah,
That's how
but
you get your name out there.
and then that's about all about building your personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people are trying to get like the next job, that's how I got my job. I had to build my brand so that way, people reached out to me to offer me interviews.
Mm-hmm. Tell you my
Yeah,
AWS one. Somebody reached out to me from YouTube. I got it. I ain't get it, but I got the interview. You got to, you got to get the interview before you get the job. But now that's
exactly.
100% correct. And I tell people, even new people starting out, you should document your journey, and that's how you get your name out there. And then people will help you. So then if
hmm And I fully believe that that's how you're going to be like people who may be struggling trying to get. I say this right. I know a lot of people on your channel, and I know Study GRC
mm-hmm,
has like their platform as well,
mm-hmm,
and everybody's trying to get into GRC.
mm-hmm.
But as you build like your professional and personal brand, you'll start to get more opportunities for you to actually get the job in GRC.
Yep, 100%.
Like I know a lot of people who like yeah, you get the certification, but then you also have to have somebody who wants to hire you too.
Facts. The certification just gets you in the door. Like you said, you got to close that deal with an interview or something like something that you're
Yep.
gonna sell them that you can do for their company to help them make money. So I'm gonna let you get the last couple of sayings out before I shut it down. I'm running out of gas. I gotta figure out what time
I
it is.
feel you, PBO. We had an hour. But yeah, man, I just want to say I appreciate you for having me up here, man.
No
You know,
problem.
I talk a lot about getting jobs and stuff like that in technology. But it's really good to kind of like just talk about like the security and setting up pipelines.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
when you talk about the security aspect of it, there's certain things that I do in my day-to-day job that I may not even realize you're going to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're talking about in AWS, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, okay, I log in and make my changes and then move on. But then like the checks that are set in place fall in line with like the incident manager,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm sitting here like, wait a second, I didn't know anything about that, right? This tool is connected to this tool, it
Yeah.
integrates with this other cloud provider, and you made me aware of it so that way I can understand like, okay, I'm making this change in Python or I'm making this change in SQL, and that's what I know, but what's the overall architecture behind it?
Right. And I'm gonna start talking about multi-cloud stuff. I think people are starting to touch on that, especially with Active Directory using those tokens to log into AWS seamlessly. So I think
Yeah,
that's
man.
something we're gonna touch on. But definitely, are you going live tonight, or are you just pushing your video? What you doing? Are you trying to
uh
figure it out?
I'm gonna push my video and we gonna see about tonight.
All right, I'll peek over there and see if you in there. So, like I said, I'm about to lay down for a minute, and I got to do a few things myself. So, I appreciate
Yeah.
you for coming up. Everybody, go subscribe to my man Before the Billions. He's out there doing good work. Once again, I want to appreciate everybody for joining us. PBO, I'm out. Everybody have a good night.